following program is intended for a mature audience. Viewer discretion is advised.
This I've got to see.
It's worth watching, so stay tuned.
And I always like to start off with something fun. So if you haven't heard of Aussie Man Reviews on YouTube, don't, because you'll fall into a rabbit hole of watching his stuff. You know, you can watch 10 3-minute videos before you blink, and he's got some fun shit. So we start off on the platform of comedy and fun, because I always dive into this shit. This is Power 60. This is man to man, Polarity, red pill discussions on evolutionary psychology and real stuff in a guy's world. I've got two different books that I pull excerpts from that I've actually got queued up. I always have way more than we can get into. So I've got Mark Manson's Models. I think we're on chapter 9, if I remember correctly. We kind of bounced around there. And then I pulled some more from, I believe, Zanpirian's Alabaster Girl as well, if we can get to that. Tim came in right at the perfect time. That's right, buddy. That was Romania's Got Talent, Tim. You know, I like I said, I heard a rumor that Romania had talent, but we found out for sure. There we go.
Yeah, well, I mean, practically every Romanian chick I've ever met is like super smoking hot. So, not that I've met that many of them.
Yeah, how many have you met, Tim? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
We went on our honeymoon. We went on this Mediterranean cruise, and there were a lot of Romanian women that worked on that ship. And then we went to Romania for a week. So
you know,
I do have a reasonable sample size.
Nice. Yeah. Well, Barry's got his Playboys from 1980 whatever under his bed with the Romanian chicks too, but I wasn't going to ask him about that. So no, not the 1980s, 1990s. No? Okay. Maybe I go the other way. 1970s.
I have none. They're gone. I don't know what the hell happened to them.
They're gone. They got thrown out a while ago, huh?
My mom must have found them sometime when I was a kid or something. Who knows?
It's like the dog that gets put down while you're taking a nap. She just takes all the Playboys outside and you never see them again.
So sad.
The tragedy.
So sad.
Yeah, exactly. The tragedy ensues. Well, let's check in. Let's give us a couple of sentences of how you're doing right this exact moment. Whenever I talk to a guy one-on-one, I always say, how you doing right in this exact moment? Check in with us. So let's go Barry first.
You know, pretty good, pretty even. So a little bit, we talked a little bit of a roller coaster just recently. So I'm not having too much trouble navigating it, although there's a lot of whipsaws, you know. Should I sell my house? Should I not sell my house? You know, what am I going to do? You know, so some of this kind of stuff, because definitely some of the changes are getting her attention, let's just say. So, but you know, I'm not too, I watched that thing that came up on one of the groups today about indecisiveness, or how to, you know, if you can't make a decision on certain things. And I'm like, yeah, I identify a little bit with that. So lots of good reasons to sell the house now, lots of good reasons not to. So, you know.
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. Well, if you want to bounce that off of the guys here tonight, we can certainly do that a little bit later. I appreciate it, Barry. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's interested. I guess stand by. Let me walk out of here. I'm not in a good place for this.
Sure. So I'll circle back around to you, and then we can ask the guys. I appreciate it, Barry. Yeah. So Jeff, come on in. Give us a couple sentences. Check in with us.
Yeah. Jeff in Kansas City. Hey, I've been separated from my wife about a year. My father-in-law died, and she moved out shortly thereafter, kind of re-looking at life, basically, I think. And so interesting. We still see each other a lot, do a lot of stuff together. I've been, you know, still being intimate, although it's not as often as I would like, but, you know, it's been maybe 3 weeks. So it's kind of getting a little long for me. But anyway, I had an interesting conversation with her today. She said that she didn't want to get a divorce, but she's living in her dad's house. I'm living in our house, and she said that she likes living by herself and doesn't see that changing. And so I said, well, hey, I'm not asking you to move back in, by the way, and I'm not asking to move in with you. I said, so if you're feeling any pressure to do that, you know, let that go, because that's not the case for me. I said, if it ever becomes a situation where I'm not okay with what we're doing, I said, I'll let you know. But she said she wasn't interested in anybody else and interested in being with anybody else, but just likes her independence and living over there. So I'm trying to keep that as a, you know, thinking positively that, you know, it just gives me some more time to keep working and figuring out how to move forward in life, even without her, since I've been wrapped up with her for basically almost 30 years. So anyway, it's been an interesting day, and I'm feeling okay though with it.
Yeah, you seem to be in a solid place for your own self, Jeff. If I ask you that question, the coaching question of, do you know what you want? Do you know what you want in this chapter of life and the very next chapter as you turn the page? What would you say?
Ultimately, I want to be, you know, I enjoy the company of a woman, you know, and you know, it's not, I guess I don't have to have it, but wow, if I've got the opportunity and you know, ultimately I want to be together with somebody in a relationship, a close relationship, committed relationship, and be together, you know. So, but where I am today is I'm okay with where I am today. And I may wake up tomorrow and not be okay with it. But right now, what I'm doing and what I'm working on, I'm okay with where things are today. So, but ultimately, I think and as time goes by, you know, that will evolve, and I may get to the point where what's going on between her and I, at least, isn't enough for me, and I yearn for something more and move on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. You're in that solid spot of, I'm good with myself today, and I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be good with myself tomorrow, day to day kind of thing. Say, Jeff, I have an interesting question for you, if you don't mind. I do a lot of other research and curation, and I'm actually diving into some Robert Moore right now, who's one of the authors of the book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And he's got some YouTube stuff. He went and spoke at the Minnesota Men's Conference, which I think the one I'm looking at now is from going on 20 years ago. My point is, he's speaking about the 7 elements of transformation. And I think I got down to number 5 before I had to jump over here to this call. And number 5, he was talking extensively about what do you have faith in? And it doesn't need to be a particular religion or a particular thing, or you don't have to be willing anything in particular into existence. But we all have faith in something. And he talked about it as what mediates the juice in your life. The opposite of this juice would be despair. So if I believed in nothing, then I literally wouldn't get up from bed in the day. I wouldn't be on this call. I wouldn't, I would do nothing. I would fall further and further into despair, let's say, or depression, right? If I didn't believe or have faith, is the word he's using, in anything. What would you say fuels you, Jeff? What do you have faith in, even if it's an image of your own self, Robert Moore talked about? What would you say you have faith in that gives you juice in your life day to day right now?
To help as I move through this interesting time. Ultimately, I mean, I am a Christian. I am a believer, and I am my ultimate faith is in God, and that He's there and in control, and and that if this is what's happening, this is what's supposed to be happening. And I'm what's helping me, to be honest with you, is just trusting in that, and that the right thing is going to happen. And I don't know necessarily what that is right now. But I believe ultimately that I will be okay either way. And because not just from, talking with you coaches and all, because you guys are saying the same thing. But also my faith tells me that all things work together for good. So that's kind of the thing that I'm holding on to.
Sure.
And also being around so many guys that have gone through these things is beyond belief, beyond helpful. That gives me great strength. Just listening to other men as they go through things, and sharing the experience.
Yeah, beautifully said. I appreciate that. Yeah, the faith that you're going to be okay no matter what, and that's a shared belief in Christianity or whatever your day-to-day belief is that you're going to be okay no matter. That's a huge one. That's an absolutely huge one. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jeff, thanks for jumping in. I appreciate it. Yeah, Tim, good to see you, man. Check in with us. You got the Slinky shirt on and everything. Power Slinky, baby.
Yeah, that's right. I'm doing all right. I don't know, for people who don't know me, I filed for divorce on the 1st of March, and that's been interesting. I don't know, my wife and I are still in the same house and kind of working through that, and I don't know, her reaction is kind of all over the place, and I'm trying to just keep it steady. So I think I don't know what Barry was saying about deciding to sell the house or not sell the house, or are we going to be able to, come to some kind of an agreement on dividing things up and not necessarily have to sell the house, or are we not going to be able to do that? So there's a lot of uncertainty in that. Like, I know what I want, and I've talked through that with my lawyer, and I've told her what I want, which is I'd like to come to some kind of amicable arrangement where we go our separate ways. But if that's not going to happen, then that's why I'm hiring somebody to help me out with this. So
Sure, that makes sense. And if if you don't want to go here, that's cool. I'm curious, has she talked with you about sexuality and things like this that you and I have talked about before? Has she brought that up, that boundary with you?
Oh, like trying to be open and stuff? Or
Just anyway, I'm kind of probing. I'm curious if any of those conversations have come up.
No, not really, because I'm kind of done with that, at least for now, for sure. Like, I don't know. I feel like she has crossed a line that I made really clear, and that because of that, I need to take action to protect myself and the future for myself. And that means ending our marriage. So, yeah.
I hear you. Do you feel pretty solid in that?
Yeah, I do. When I can think through it with my rational brain, I definitely feel solid. there's still a lot of emotion, around that clouds some of that. Like, I don't know, seeing, like, we have had some conversations where she will get upset and apologize for having hurt me or whatever. And, that definitely impacts me, and I still care about her. Like, I don't know. And I could see how it could be really easy to just say, oh, yeah, oh, well, like, I know that I've said this is what I want, and I'm like making definitive moves for what I want, but you said you're sorry, and let's just like go back to the way that things were, or, just kidding.
Right. Yeah. Well, can we go back? What does that mean to go back to the way things were? Does anyone even want that? And
Yeah.
who would you be as a man if you went back on your own boundaries and your own word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know that I would. I think that there's like a step in between there, like, of like, acknowledging like the positive caring feelings that I still have, and like acknowledging the fact that she has apologized, but still knowing what I want. And it feels like a slippery slope a little bit, like, to not have just like this stone cold wall of like, nope, we're done and that's it. But that's not real, like, I'm still going to care. I just need to have a boundary.
Certainly. Yeah. And I agree about acknowledging what she said, and definitely agree with that. What do you feel about the potential of version 2.0 down the road? Is that something that you'd be open to down the road? It doesn't matter the timing. We don't have to figure out the logistics of it. But one reason I see, right, of guys, that slippery slope is, well, if we get divorced, then that means I've blown up the bridge or I've burned.
Oh yeah. No, I don't see it that way. Like, I see that, there's always going to be a chance to continue to be friends with her if that's what I want, or like maybe later down the road we could be more than that, or I don't know. Like, but I do know that right now, like, the crazy financial stuff that's gone on, and like the sexuality stuff that I'm not cool with, like, I need to have a boundary. And I've told her, like, I don't know, we're talking about, like, it started out with me saying, all right, like, I've reached the point where I don't want to be married to you anymore. I'm filing and I'm moving forward. And, that can be amicable or not. And that's pretty much like, it's going to happen. And she has concerns about like health insurance, and like, if we, really don't want to sell this place and split up all of our horses and all of that stuff, and if I want to stay here, like, and I told her, if we can come up with some kind of an agreement that's short of divorce, but it splits the community estate into two separate estates, and we have clear rules about like our finances being split going forward and whatever, that like that could be enough, right? For me anyway. So we may still remain legally married and become separated. Like Texas doesn't have separation as a legal thing, but we do have other legal ways where we can take the community property and make it separate property and have agreements that, you know, from this point forward, all the money I make is mine and all the money she makes is hers, and that we're not living together in a community state anymore. And, so that's a possibility.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and the same with accruing debt that you're not responsible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
All of the things that I'm relying on my very professional and slightly expensive attorney to make sure are covered.
That's kind of what you want. Very professional and slightly expensive. I think that's a good way to go. Yeah, well, good. Okay, Tim. Well, thanks for checking in, man. I appreciate you pulling back the curtain a bit for us here. And I've been thinking about you. I've been worried about you. So I appreciate you being on.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good. That vision for the future, I'm going to go over to Richard. I appreciate it, Tim. That vision for the future. I spoke with a new man today. He makes $1 million a year selling supplements. He's got like, I don't know, he grossed like 15 million bucks or something. He was bragging basically. First call today.
Who do I need to meet, Jeff?
Yeah, I can, we'll have a retreat. Maybe he'll be there or some shit. I don't know if any of that's true, but whatever. It's what he said. And his wife just chews the shit out of him. He's like a doormat, and she shits on him and she argues about everything. And that I could go on it, right? That's the whole thing. Go on. And I said, he's a real ambitious guy. So I kind of sped up my conversation, and about 20 minutes in, I said, well, hey, some things I'm going to recommend she's not going to like. So does that mean that this, that you don't want to go forward with this if she's not going to like everything that I have to say? If you're going to try these things and get your balls back and be the man that you were when you met her 6 years ago. He's 37 now, and met her 6 years ago, and she's treating you like a punching bag or a doormat. And some things I'm going to have you do are to create roots for your own self, to have a belief system that doesn't include kissing her ass, that it's okay if she's upset with you once in a while. Because he keeps saying, I'm saying everything wrong. She wants to clean the shower at 10 in the evening, just all of a sudden because of her anxiety. And if I say anything but fucking hop to it right then, I'm an asshole and I'm insensitive. And even if I question
Sounds
why,
really familiar.
shit, And so it's, well, she's not going to like everything that I have you do for your own self, the grounding, the sacred space. He has no space for himself. It's COVID, so it's just all on top of each other. He's not even taking walks for himself. He's not getting out in nature for himself. She's like nothing. So she's not going to always like you standing up for what you believe is right and what you believe is true. And she fucking wants you to lead the relationship. She just doesn't know how to say that. And this particular woman is, boss bitch, boss babe, whatever that saying is. And she's like, wants to, take the lead, but then she doesn't like taking the lead, and this whole thing. And the big topic in that conversation was, do you have a vision for the future beyond her being upset with these changes that you're telling me you want to make, right? Or in other words, we're going to climb Everest here, and are you in to go from base camp to base camp, even if it's hard along the way, and she's unhappy that it's cold or she's tired or whatever else is happening, but you're leading to the top of fucking Everest here, and she can either come along with you or not. But are you going to be along this journey, or are you going to bail as soon as she, complains? Because I guarantee you she's going to complain. She's already complaining. He's like, she's already complaining, she's already shitting on me. So what do I have to lose? And, I wanted to put that out front for him. And whether, no matter what your spot is now, we have to have a vision for at least tomorrow, right? Like Jeff was saying, the vision is wake up tomorrow and have a new vision tomorrow. right? If we don't have a vision, at least for tomorrow, we're in a real tough spot. It's like the quicksand going over our head. So, I mean, all that wasn't personal to you, Richard. I just felt like sharing with that, what's going on with the other guy. I don't know if any of that hit you, but I just want to say, hey, check in with us. I appreciate you jumping on, man. So come and say hi.
Hey, what's up, fellas? So I'm having a pretty good day today. It's much calmer. I'm more stable. I'm able to decipher things a little better in whatever this thing me and my wife are in. She's been upset because I have a few work trips coming up, and just out of the blue, she said that I'm back to not being a father and a good father or whatever the hell it was. And I looked, I was like, what? So I wanted to dig deeper into what she meant by that, because I looked back and I couldn't decipher it, but I think she was just upset that I would be gone. And she felt that she would be doing things alone, and she complained about I only give the kids baths and showers whenever I want to, which isn't the case at all. So I'm kind of looking, and I was like, okay, so she feels like she'll be alone, which is one of the issues we had in the past, because I'll be out at work. And she didn't believe me that I was going on this work trip anyway, which I can prove and I'm not too concerned with. But it's the alone thing that I realized is the issue. So I kind of twisted it, because she went and looked at the laundry and she wanted to complain about how I was folding the clothes. And I was like, oh, that's the bad father in me right there. You know, you're not fucking sorry. I was like, hey, but it's folded enough. So I kind of was able to shoot that, and she kind of laughed. And then I was like, okay, now get the fuck out of here, dude. Take the W and run. So, I mean, that's just how that ended. Finished wrapping up things for the kids, and, you know, able to hear you guys' story. And, you know,
Sure.
I appreciate all you guys, you know, talking about things, because I have the same down days and sucky days that you guys have too. So today just happened to be an update for me. So
Yeah, I love it. So I read your email today. Richard's been sending me 5-minute daily dumps. And if you don't mind me asking, do you mind if I bring that up? Is that okay?
Yeah.
We put in there? Yeah. So one of them you mentioned is, she kind of insinuated that she thought you were making up that you had a business trip, like you were going to go see another woman or something, which is totally out of the blue. We'll just press pause on that. But the other one of, so you're not being a good father, this kind of thing. Does she open up let me take a step back. So often when a woman says something that's really confusing, it has some percentage of truth in there, which is kind of the hard part to swallow sometimes, right? And then usually a much larger amount of projection. And that could be something that she's not even aware of. But my point is, does she open up what's underneath that? So if you said, hey, I'm a little confused by what you said there, you know, is this, and then you ask a deeper question, is this about you being alone? You know, is this about you worried about being alone that weekend? Where you just go another level deeper of analysis. You know, she's saying whatever about the laundry, and you go 1 or 2 levels deeper than that. Will she open up and talk with you if you try that kind of thing?
No, not at this point, because we're still doing the space thing, even though she's back to engaging more, especially these last even today after she said what she said, she's engaging me about something just off the wall, you know. So when I did go deeper, not in the Jeff way, but in the slightly pathetic Richard way, I guess, just to find out what it was, I knew it was the fact that I would be gone and that she would have to do everything by herself. But I had already started thinking ahead, like, hey, I'm going to be gone for these 2 weekends and a whole damn week. So I have family in the area. I say, hey, family, can you take the kids to practice during this time, because I'm going to be gone? we have an event this weekend. I already set up with my family because we ended up double booking. I have something, she has something. So instead of concerning myself for the fact that she's going to be alone, I'm more focused of what are you going to do to make sure that things are easier for her at that time. So getting the kids situated, making sure they're taken care of, whether it's by me or my family in the area, just kind of leading into doing things that just know that I've taken care of it. Don't worry about it, you know. And even though we're in space, I felt like that was a prime opportunity for me to lead in the direction where I would like for this to go. Whether it happens or not, I know I'm a kick-ass dad. I know I'm not a bad father, you know. So.
Yeah, certainly. The bad father thing gets to me too. I mean, I've not always been the perfect person, but I've always wanted to be a dad and a good dad. And it doesn't matter if I lay in front of a train for my kid kind of thing. It doesn't matter. But if someone were to say like, you're not a good father, that'd be pretty tough for me. Sounds like you took it in stride.
Yeah, I just took a step back and tried to realize where it came from, because it only came from the point where she was questioning where I was going, why it didn't make sense to her, because, you know, COVID's going on, but I'm going on these work trips now. But, you know, I work for the military, so COVID be damned. We have a mission.
That's right.
You know, even as a civilian, you know, I still work for the government, and, you know, we got stuff to do.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, so.
Gotcha. Well, good for you. So did you have a question you want to put on the table? You were talking about that earlier, or did we talk about it?
I mean, I kind of got to the deeper sense of it just to figure out where she was at, you know, try to understand it. So I don't really have anything specifically on that.
Okay. Yeah. One thing, I don't remember what you had typed, but you were kind of having like a text fight with her. And then you put, I need to stop texting this shit. And I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking. You just need to stop. Like no text fighting, you know, no deep questions over text. What was that question? Do you remember?
Oh, there's quite a few of them. Just like, why did it come to this point? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are you questioning me about my work trip? You know, do you trust me? That was the
That's
question.
what it was. Yeah. You asked her.
Do you trust me?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I had already sent my dump, and she replied, sure, which translates to, you know, it's a crappy comment she says. I kind of roll my eyes at it. I'm like, well, that tells me she doesn't. You know, but
Right.
I mean,
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, go ahead.
No. It just, you know, I'm like, okay, so there's something deeper there. I knew something was deeper. I just wanted to get to the root cause, so that way I can address it and then get back to our space thing, you know, because I'm taking pride in taking space now, you know, filling my time and doing the things I want to do.
Nice. That's huge. I think when you and I started talking 6 weeks ago, something like that, I said it usually takes about 2 months for a guy to start leaning into that, regrowing your own fucking life for your own. I'll ask Kent about that here in a second. But yeah, good for you. Fantastic.
Connecting with the other men was big. I mean, I talked with some of the guys in our group, and that was what took me over the edge, honestly. You know, just connecting with some of the other men and, you know, realizing our stories are eerily similar.
Yeah, right. That's a great segue. I appreciate it, Richard. So, Kent, are those stories eerily similar?
I was in the middle of tucking kids in, so I didn't hear everything. But
yeah, go ahead.
You know, the last story here just kind of hit home a little bit. It almost feels like it's a constant keeping score, like how many times you're gone, because I've been gone for a lot of work trips. You know, and they're work trips. You can't get around it. But then it's like you try to find time for yourself too, you know, as a man, you know, in a marriage, and, you know, it feels like there's a score being kept there as well. But that was a long time ago in my marriage. pre-divorce, but that was just one hurdle. But yeah, it is all the similar stories, man, from the Facebook stories to, you know, on C Note show to Power 30. You know, it's good to connect, and, you know, like the nail on the head, like go to the men, because it's that important, and lean on each other, and, you know, you can support each other that way for sure.
Yeah, so I want to ask you about you, Ken, have you check in. Let me just make a comment about the different level of analysis. It almost feels like if a woman continues to bring something up that feels rather surface level to us, it's a sure sign that there's something deeper there that we haven't excavated. And so Roger popped in my mind and how he does cave diving, cave spelunking, underwater, deep water cave diving. Roger does, which you have to like take off your tank sometimes and put your tank through and then your body through, because it's not even big enough to fit you and the fucking tank in the bottom of the ocean with like crazy currents and absolutely nightmarish sounding to me scenarios. Well, so I thought of that in this spot of the current's blowing 1,000,000 miles an hour. And if you let go of the line, you know, you're in the ocean somewhere in this craziness. But once you get down underneath the current and he describes it, you know, sunken ships and caves and all kind of amazing stuff down there. And you're in a whole other world. And what I'd encourage is, if you keep getting this surface level conversation with a woman, that you somehow, and I'll say you skillfully use the things that we've talked about and you guys are all learning, to get underneath that, to get underneath the story of, you know, you're always traveling, you're not around. There's definitely a whole underground cavern of either concern or anxiety or adventure that you can talk about. I mean, why should she give a fuck that you are doing these things in your life? So let me put that another way. If you haven't presented in a adventurous, emotional, connecting way why you're doing the things that you want to do, then you're not selling it. Right? You haven't like written the movie scripts well enough yet. You haven't written you haven't done the next draft of the screenplay, because this is your fucking life. This is the adventurous life that you're. And by the way, if you don't believe in it enough to sell that, that's a problem in and of itself. That's your own work. But it's not just keep beating my head against the wall. It's how can I find the underground cavern of adventure to connect with her in this kind of way. And now I want to segue that actually in. Kent, this is something you're doing with the women that you're dating now. There's some kind of natural ability you have, buddy, to tap this adventurous feeling within the women that you're dating now. I'm not sure about right this second, but the stories that you've told all of us and that you've shared in the relaunch group and things. So check in with us right this moment. Like, what's up for you in life right now?
Well, I tell you, I mean, from a dating standpoint, it's funny you bring that up, because one of them, very casual. I kind of, the conversation she and I has is very friend-like, you know, but I haven't friend zoned myself to an extent. But I think inviting that adventure really, really does a lot to the relationship, because she and I were talking I think it was last Wednesday, and she brings up, and I was free. I had no kids, so I knew I had a weekend free. And she says, I really miss concerts. You know, miss going to concerts. And I looked up, and Lee Bryce was 5 hours away. I go, we're going. She's like, what? We can't do that. I go, fuck yeah, we can. Let's go. I go, we're leaving at, you know, Friday night at whatever. And like, we're just going to go. We ended up driving back that same night, but it was phenomenal. And, you know, she thanked me over and over for letting herself cut loose and being in a safe place. And, you know, there was no expectations. It was just, let's go. I think we both needed that adventure in our life in the moment. And, you know, again, there's nothing serious between us. She lives a little ways away, but it was an opportunity for us to, you know, in a sense, practice my leadership skills, practice her opening up and not feeling judged, you know, from her past relationship. And I totally understand where she's coming from. Like I see the faults in her ex-husband, because a lot of times I made those same damn mistakes. And I was empathetic. I was, I was understanding. I was there. I was grounded. I listened to her, and she is probably still thanking me in text message as we speak. But yeah, just inviting that adventure is a huge step, and it doesn't have to be, a 5-hour road trip, but just something and at a conscious level, finding that different cave, like you said, that, finding something different, inviting her to something that she's excited about, and not taking no for an answer, because she actually was for probably half a day. She goes, "We can't do this. Like it doesn't make sense." Like I go, "I'm not taking no for an answer. We are going." And that was it. And it was great.
Fuck yeah, man. So cool. I love it. You've got amazing stories, Ken. So good. I love how you're leaning into life, buddy.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Barry, I want to ask Barry to put your question on the table. Let's go right at it. So Ken, yeah, when you jumped in, Barry and I were chatting at the beginning, and Barry's been on Power 60 quite a few times, and Barry was in Arizona when we shot guns as well. His let's see if I can remember the P365, right? What brand is it?
6 Hour.
6 Hour, that's right. Yeah, so Barry's a fucking sharpshooter. Barry, I wouldn't be surprised if wings sprout out of Barry's back and he's like, "Oh yeah, I can fly too, by the way. I didn't mention that part." Yeah, I'm Aquaman too. Yeah, Barry's a very talented guy. So put the scenario on the table for the guys to maybe ask you questions or just connect and get feedback about, the house or your choices right now. Whatever you want to put on the table, Barry, go for it.
Okay, so try to sum it up quickly, right? So we came back from the retreat with the decision made to go ahead and physically separate. We're still married, but I'm not. But I've been working for, I don't even know how long, better part of a year through various, starting the program, working on my own stuff for a while, but fairly consistently, she's basically been we've been in the same house, the relationship's friendly. It's just the romantic side is dead for her, and she's not coming back. Doesn't seem like it. And so, but she's also not motivated to change anything, because I guess, I don't know, until somebody pushes her or something. And so I came back and decided it was time to go ahead and, get the physical separation thing underway. And it was all intertwined with issues of, if she moves out of the house, I can't really afford to buy her half of the house, because it's, the cost has gone through the roof, just like everything nowadays. And so so I kind of let the house thing get intertwined in the whole question of, separation. And she's like, "Well, why don't you move out of the house?" or something like that. And so I thought about, okay, that would be okay. But I thought about it a little bit. And I was like, my workshop's here. If I moved out of the house, I would be back over here all the time, because just too much of my shit couldn't move into an apartment. And that's really not acceptable, because it would be basically putting my life on hold until something changed, which hasn't for a better part of the year. And so I'm kind of sick of that. And so one criteria that I came up with for this physical separation was, neither one of us needs to put our life on hold. It needs to be a situation where we can both, continue on that path indefinitely if we decide not to, get back together sometime because she has this fantasy, and I talked to Jeff about this, that she'll go out, she'll spend a couple of months, she'll figure things out, and then she'll want to get back together. I mean, I think that's like practically her, her script at this point. And, I mean, it's in some ways fine with me, but I'm not going to count on it. And so, so Jeff warned me off from crushing that. And I'm glad you did, Jeff, because the opportunity to crush that came up literally hours later, and I might have done it had you not warned me off of that. So
yeah, do you mind sharing for a minute what that meant? Because I mean, I don't want to just leave that hanging like that. So go ahead and just share a little bit more. What in your, in your words?
Okay, so she's expressed this idea that she just needs a little bit of, she's never lived on her own, right? We got married right out of college, and she lived at home with her mom, and then we moved off and went in the Air Force, and that was pretty much it. So I think she has this lingering need to be on her own for a little bit or something. I'm not sure what that's all about exactly, but I kind of feel like she needs to as well, because based on some information that, once again, that came through Jeff, was that, you know, women don't tend to come out of limbo without having experienced some other experiences first. And so I feel like she needs that. And I'm kind of, you know, actually motivated to do it myself. You know, it's like, I haven't done it either. So great. Let's do that. You know, I'm actually pretty motivated to do that. And it's a little bit exciting and stuff, kind of anxious, kind of not anxious, kind of impatient to get on with it a little bit. Anyway, so she has expressed over the past week or so, a couple of different times, this idea that, you know, just take a little space, and I see us getting back together. I definitely think we're going to be together forever. Just, you know, need to somehow, in my own mind, rekindle that. And I think some time apart will rekindle, you know, whatever. And I basically was taking the tack to that seems unlikely to me. You know, once we split up, you know, coming back together kind of seems unlikely to me, or did at the time. And I was kind of inclined to tell her as much. And Jeff said, no, don't do that.
Well, yeah, I asked if you want to have the potential for the two of you to start version 2.0 in the future, and you said yes.
Yeah, that's true. I do. You know, I think.
Right. So my point is, you do not want to crush a woman's dream unless you really are intentfully doing that. You know, a foundation of the whole Gottman therapy shtick is hearing each other's dreams and just having fun and allowing each other's dreams to be in the space without trying to logic it or make any sense of, you know, like I said, like, I want to fly to Mars and then circle around Saturn. You know, that would be great. That'd be so cool. We can look out the window and see the rings. You're not going to say that's not going to fucking happen. What are you talking about? That costs $9 trillion and would take 5 lifetimes. No, don't talk logic. Don't So when a woman shares a dream with you, roll with it, unless you have a specific reason to actually completely kill that dream. So that's what I was saying to Barry, because Barry, I could feel you're like, well, I'm going to tell her that's not logical. It's like, whoa, slow down the cart there. Let's not. My favorite thing is don't outrun your headlights there.
Well, that's not exactly what I meant to say. It was just that, in all honesty, I didn't find it a likely scenario given where I was with the thing. And so, but that's my thought on the thing. You know, obviously, you know, I mean, I don't want to go off into this separation, you know, with the outcome predetermined, or at least in my mind biased towards a certain outcome. I want to kind of, you know, I want to, you know, give myself a fair chance to figure out really whether I do want to go back into a 2.0. Yeah. Because, you know, it's a freaking lot of work to keep all that up. And do I really want to do that with her or with somebody else, or just kind of on my own for a while, you know? And because if I don't go into it motivated to really want it, then I'll get lazy and won't do the freaking work.
Yeah. So let me make a point, and then I'm going to jump over to Kent. So here's a point. The point is, these two things, dreams and then what you want to do in reality, are completely different ball games. They're completely different dimensions. So dreams are just that, and they have nothing to do with what you're actually going to follow through on, right? And so this is your point of, well, you don't want to be hooked on some kind of fallback plan, is what it sounds like, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I get it at this point. You're right. And, you know, so I get it. I mean, don't squash it. It makes all kinds of sense to me now that I understand the other perspective, you know. I mean, I get it fully now. And like I said, not literally hours later, she once again brought that up. And I was like, yeah, I said, I think that's, you know, a good possibility. I think that could happen. So, I mean, you know, so I changed I just kind of left it at that. So,
yeah, sure. Yeah. So Kent, come on in, go for it.
Point for me.
Yeah. I don't, hopefully I don't overstep bounds here, but just something for Barry that really hit home for me was, So when we separated, that was my decision essentially, because I got tired of hearing the same old "I'm done" from her conversation, you know, because to Jeff's point earlier, in those moments, I mean, she's telling me the truth. I just didn't know it at the time that she was done. And I feel personally that as soon as that separation started, that either Kent 2.0 or the relationship 2.0 started at that moment. And because the mistake that I made for probably the first maybe month was I made the mistake of continually checking in and hoping, and just magically things going back to normal. And that pushed her so much further away in those 4 weeks than it did when I discovered an affair 2 years ago, you know, for whatever it was. But as soon as I finally decided to take hold of what I wanted to do on a daily basis is when she started to notice and she started to want to engage in conversation and things like that. I, at the time, still didn't have any interest in reconciling at the time because it was just, we were too far beyond that, I felt. So that's how I feel. So if you're kind of questioning, you know, if you want relationship 2.0, like you said, that can't be the mindset in it. Like, you've truly got to have Barry 2.0 in the front of your mind moving forward. And from there, what happens, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I appreciate that more than you probably would know, because she's gotten, I think, scared, frightened, whatever, by the pace of the changes that have happened in the last week. I immediately wrote up a separation agreement and went over it with her, and, you know, did a finance kind of division and came out with a settlement kind of number. And we sat down and looked at it and came to an agreement. And I sent the papers to the lawyer where they sit right now. We're not actually hiring lawyers. Technically, we're hiring a lawyer to walk it through the courts, but we're just going to do it. I mean, you know, I still have her trust and she has mine. In fact, she's going to still keep books for my company and shit like that, although I'm not exactly sure. I haven't decided if I want to let, she says she's willing, and, you know, I don't know. I haven't decided whether, I don't have a technical reason. I totally trust her to do it. It's just logistically, it might be a pain in the ass when they're not living in the house. So I might, and I've been meaning to kind of maybe hire somebody to do that. Anyway, that's tangent, man.
That's a good thought, because actually we didn't hire attorney either. We went towards it as kind of that DIY divorce. But I have a close friend who specializes in divorce cases, and he actually looked over all my paperwork for me. I didn't actually hire him as a retainer. So technically he looked over our paperwork. And if I ever felt the need that I needed to hire him, you know, get him on retainer, then he was right there for me. But so anything you can do to review, have another set of eyes on it, make sure it's, you know, all going to par, is a huge recommendation. Not that she's going to try to screw you, but, you know, it's good to have somebody in your corner, no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, so far it's been my show, and I wrote the agreement and I know exactly what's in it, but, the lawyer, he's my lawyer, you know, but he's kind of also the family lawyer. And so, you know, we kind of went to him together and he says, all right, fine, I'm not representing either one of you in this case. And if it turns into a fight, I can't represent either one of you going forward.
Correct.
You know, the number, the settlement and all that, I picked a number that seemed really fair to me. And we had some discussions about it because I own a company and there's some valuation of the company that had to happen. And she knows that if she takes too big a chunk of that, then the company dies. And then, you know, but, you know, anyways, we picked a number that hurts a little bit for me and scares her a little bit because it might not be big enough. And we both realize that if we get in a fight, then the difference between where it would end up, where it is now and where it would end up is way less than the lawyer fees involved. So you really can't go wrong. But anyway, that's really not what we're here about. The pace, I think, what I was going with that was the pace of the changes has frightened her into the point of she's turning back towards me pretty, you know, in a way that hasn't happened in a long time. And it's taken a whole lot of strength on my part to just push the process forward and get her comfortable with moving out. And, you know, my kid graduates high school in about 6 more weeks. And so we're not going to do anything until then, because I don't really want to put her, this is just probably not a great time to drop a bomb on her when she's got AP tests and final exams and all that crap, you know, on the horizon. So we're just going to wait about 6 weeks, and then we're going to go through it. But so I got about 6 weeks to get everything in order. But, you know, she's, like I said, she's completely, you know, gotten very, very scared, I think, by the whole thing, and turned back towards me. And of course, you know, I'm basically doing exactly the right stuff, you know, just being solid and steady in the whole thing, and, you know, empathetic and all that for the most part, which of course makes her even more interested. And so there's an opportunity here probably to, you know, try again, quotes, before we even separate. But I don't, based on discussions with Jeff and others, I don't really believe that I think we'd end up right back in another iteration of where we are right now, just in a matter of months. And so I'm going to keep on head down this path. And that's basically where I was going with that.
Yeah, Tim, come on in, go for it.
Yeah, I think kind of going back to your don't crush the dream thing, like I had to learn that lesson big time, like, because I know that I used to do that all the time. And I think listening to Allison Armstrong explain that whole thing, like, I got it. But one thing that I worry about, like, when she expresses a dream or says stuff like, I still think that we're going to grow old together and stuff like that, like, I don't crush it, and I also don't know what really to say that's not going to give mixed messages. And, like, I don't know how to lean into the dream without being confusing.
Making promises you don't intend to keep, maybe.
Well, or like, just not even making promises, but like implying things that I don't mean to imply. I even, like, less strong than making promises. I don't know.
Yes, let me ask you that. What's your true feeling in that moment? That it's it sounds nice. It's a nice dream. It's a nice thought, and I'm feeling what?
And I'm feeling like I'm so raw from everything we've been living through right now that I don't know if that's something that I want or can see as reality. And I need space to figure my shit out.
So just kicking it around, how about saying that? How about saying what you truly feel in that moment without trying to play any angle? Or, you know, you sounded really calm and centered about that when you just said it.
Well, and I think, like, without taking up a whole lot of time, because I know that we're winding down here, I think that I had expressed that, and then when she shared her dream earlier today, and she wanted a hug, I just hugged her and told her that I still care, like, and didn't say a whole lot.
Yeah. That sounds beautiful to me. That sounds perfect. It's your truth. You're being there for her. You're not judging what she's saying. You're not judging your own self. You're being real about that in a compassionate way. It sounds beautiful to me.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me add one more thing before we close up today. What Barry, you said about, and what Ken said, yeah, you definitely do not want to go backwards. This isn't about, hey, let's try again. Let's try the old relationship again. When you turn your shoulders as a man and you decide what you're doing in your life, you must follow through with that chapter, or decide something different because you want to decide something different, not because of the influences of a woman. So this is how I want my life to go in the next 6 months. This is what I want to do with my living situation. This is what I want to do with my relationship situation. You're doing that because you want to do that. If you all of a sudden change your mind because of what ifs from a woman, she's immediately not going to trust you. She's not going to trust your grounding. She's going to think you don't know what you're talking about, that you're trying to manipulate her, that you're wishy-washy. She's going to feel all those things. So if you try to slow the horses down and go, well, let's try the old relationship again because you just said maybe, that shit is not gonna, she's not gonna like that. She's not gonna be turned on by that. You're gonna feel caught in the lurch. You're gonna feel like you didn't follow through on what you wanted to do. So definitely fucking not. But what you can do is, hey, you can invite her on a date in this new way of being. You could say, let's plan a first date in this new chapter of life, and you could plan it for whatever day you want. You know, July 15th or whatever the hell date you want. You could put something out there on the calendar like that, you know, it doesn't really mean anything. You have the intention of doing something fun like a date with her July 15th. And otherwise, you're being quite clear that the two of you are, you've told me this before, the two of you are going to be completely free. There's going to be no boundaries on relationship. And that's a longer discussion, right, Barry?
That's right. Yeah.
You're free to do what you want. You're separating your finances. You both have your own life. You trust her agency to take, she's going to do what she wants to do and you're going to do what you want to do. Oh, and hey, we've got a date on the calendar for July 15th with one another.
I think that would probably, I think that would probably go over well with her at this point. If I've got one more minute, I wanted to, because I was afraid I was being wishy-washy a little bit on the whole house thing. And I was, and because I wasn't settled in my mind. I couldn't see a way to keep the house, not sell the house, and separate in a reasonable way that would allow us to both, really experience separation without, some sort of safety net. You know what I mean? And so I said, I basically made the decision after a lot of agonizing soul searching to just, okay, you know what, I'm going to give it up. I'm going to just move on and find something else and get on board with that. And I kind of got on board with that and was comfortable with it. Not hired an agent, had an agent come out, went through a bunch of stuff with her. And that's when Michelle, it's my wife, freaked out, the worst thing, too much, too fast, way changing, kind of broke down and pulled back and said, I'll be the one to move out. And, but I would rather you keep the place because I kind of want us to have a chance at coming back here if we work things out, and we'll work on a financial arrangement where you can afford to keep it, you won't sell it, so on and so on. And so, which actually was kind of my preference all along. I just couldn't see a way to do it. But now that she's kind of there, so I'm wondering, this is where I am. I'm caught between, is that wishy-washy or am I really getting what I want after all? And so, because the fact of the matter is I am kind of getting what I want. So
go ahead, Tim. Yeah.
I'm almost exactly in the same boat, Barry. Like my lawyer had said, you can't afford to buy her out. She's never going to agree to anything that would let you stay there. You're going to have to liquidate it and move on. But now she's saying the other thing. And I think where I'm at right now is trying to make sure that I have my eyes completely open on what it would mean for me to stay here. And in my case, I'm going to have to pay her something every month too, because right now I work and she doesn't. And there's no way for her to be on her own. And I think that I don't have all the answers yet, and I am trying to not judge myself too much for accepting the fact that there's reasons why I would want to stay here, and there are probably reasons why it makes a lot of sense to sell and move on. But I think that in my case, it's still a communication that's in process, and trying to iron out the details of the financial part for me and say, does this really make sense? And I guess earlier today, that was part of the conversation that I had too, was telling her, look, this is what I think I want, but I also don't want to come up with some arrangement where I'm still here and I have 8 horses that I have to feed, and I can't afford to feed myself anymore. So I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah. Well, so let me add on there real fast. And Patrick just raised his hand. So Barry, that the house wasn't the main part of your life right now is deciding to move forward as far as the separation and wanting freedom for yourself and for her. The house is like Tim just said, a communication piece, something you're deciding. So I don't think that you're wishy-washy. I wouldn't even use that word. It's just you're deciding what to do with the house. You're looking at all angles of that, just like Tim was saying. What I'm saying is don't all of a sudden stop the freedom that you're moving toward to try to revive the dead zombie of the old relationship. Right?
Yeah, that's yeah. I feel like I'm doing a pretty solid job of pressing ahead with this thing. I'm pretty resolved. I mean, I'm not pretty resolved. I am resolved to move ahead with this. I'm actually, it's not even negotiable at this point. This is what's going to happen. But I mean, I want it. And I think she is recognizing that she needs it. I know that she needs it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty comfortable. I'm not, the thoughts that would have crushed me 6 months ago of her, with some other dude in the sack or something like that, don't even really bother me in that much. I mean, I kind of like, that's what she needs, or that makes her happy. Then, it's not going to really bother me at this point. Now, when it actually happens, we'll see. But it feels like right now that I can handle that. And in fact, I feel like it wouldn't even really bother me. I don't know. That's kind of, maybe it's just, and I feel like it comes from a good place, not a just I'm pissed kind of place. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling is you're ready for the adventure. It feels like one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm pretty much stoked for it. And I'm like chomping at the bit. And so I'm constantly, so I got to back off a little bit because I think she's starting to feel that energy, and it's, and she doesn't really, I mean, I don't know if it's how she'll react to it. I don't want to just, demoralize her by shoving her out the door and throwing her bags after her. But,
Sure.
I mean, and I'll have to handle all the logistics of getting her moved and getting them, all that. So I'm going to let her handle as much as she can, but I'm going to make sure it happens. The thing with the house was that I'd pretty much decided, this is what's going to have to happen. I'm going to sell it, and I'm getting used to that. And then when I saw a door over here saying, maybe it doesn't have to go that way, it felt a little bit like, because it is an easier path. It's harder in some ways because I still don't know if financially I can afford to keep it. Even, we came into an arrangement where I'll just basically pay all of the expenses. She continues to own half of it. She has her own thing, but I have to basically run, support the house, which basically means, just the freaking property taxes are, what I mean?
I'm gonna press pause as soon as we get to property taxes. I'm gonna pause on you, Barry. So you're writing the last of this chapter of your story, and you're going to turn the page into the next chapter. That's what we're talking about. And however that happens with the house, you'll figure out. But you are headed for the next chapter of life, is what I'm excited about for you. So Patrick's going to get the last word tonight, and then I got to let you guys go. Patrick, go for it, buddy. Come on in. Come on, buddy. Yeah, go for it.
My thing is just purely financial. When I bought my wife out, it was $705,000. 14 months later, it's worth $875,000. So it's gone up basically $160,000 in about 14 months. If I was buying it now, I couldn't afford it. And that's one aspect. You sort of, I don't know what the property market's doing in the States, but it's just gone ballistic here. So and I know of somebody else that got caught out that way. It took 2 or 3 years to work out that he was going to get separated, and by then he couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford to buy his wife out. So I don't know whether that factors into Tim's and Barry's things. That's you've
already way beyond being able to afford her half of the house. And so actually if the market tanks, it would work in my favor.
Well, that's the other thing.
Either way, Barry, right?
No, I'm actually, we were offered a ridiculous amount of money by somebody just without even putting it on the market to sell it, because it's a long freaking story that you probably would, it would be a good entertainment, but we don't have time for it. Point is that, so it's kind of hard to walk away from. I really would rather keep it, even though I'm turning down a big payday, because just the thought of moving all my shit and all that kind of stuff, which is probably going to have to happen anyway, and probably less of a, payback, but just putting that off for 6 months, or a year of having to move my shit and find another place to live and all that kind of stuff is, to give me a little breather. So hopefully I won't, regret too much not taking the payday.
Yeah, all good.
Plus I'll have a really cool place. This house is a freaking, ass kicking bachelor pad. So.
And you got all the toys.
So it's kind of, where I grew up on a grander scale, and so I love the lake and all the lake stuff, and my wife and kid couldn't give a shit about the lake, so this is all me.
Yeah,
which is pathetic. I mean, come on, who doesn't love a lake? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I grew up in Minnesota. Hell yeah, absolutely.
Lakes are freaking awesome, and the turtles almost never bite you.
There's turtles in the lake too?
Oh shit, yeah, it's turtles or snakes. It's a lake. It's good stuff.
And it's south of the Mason-Dixon line, Jeff. Come on.
Oh, yeah. True. Yes.
There's probably alligator gar and the Loch Ness monster to boot.
I didn't picture Georgia. That's true.
Now they drank the lake a few years ago, so there's actually hard proof that there's no Loch Ness monster unless it's moved in recently, which is really a shame.
Nice. You guys are phenomenal. So I encourage you to keep dreaming, keep envisioning, envision the future and take a person out, put a person in, change the scenario, change the town, change how many fucking books you have, Barry. So envision the different things and feel what comes over you. Feel what waves come over you. You'd be surprised. Being in denial is much different than actually visualizing different things in your life, guys. Well, have a fantastic night. I loved it. You guys are phenomenal. Reach out to me if you want. Otherwise, I'll see you around. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys. Very much.
Get more affection, love, and sex in your marriage. Get less paralyzing fear and rejection. Never miss an episode. Watch anytime, anywhere, 3 a.m. on the toilet. Get full episodes. GreatMenMoveMountains.com/VIP.